I'm waiting for, there we go. Hi, everyone. So it is Monday. It is 11:03 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Little few minutes behind the curve here, but we're live on YouTube and we're live on Instagram. So thank you as you guys pop here in the room. So on Mondays, we do our weekly tarot reading. Today, we're also going to cover our full moon ritual. The full moon happens on Thursday here in the Northern Hemisphere, Eastern Standard Time. So hi, Erin. As you guys pop in the room on both YouTube and Instagram, say hi. Little comment on YouTube would be great. Hi, Melinda. And as everybody starts rolling in, we're definitely in the summer schedule and the summer vibes. I don't know that feel totally awake, and I feel like I've done extra prep for today because it's another big week. But as everybody kind of rolls in and joins us, we'll get going on our weekly and the astrology of the week because there's quite a bit. That doesn't have to be, hi Chris, heavy. It's actually very constructive for the most part, but there's duality to each thing and balance to everything. And the way things hit in particular charts, your individual natal chart will speak to it differently, right? So happy Monday. How was the weekend? How do you all feel? How was last week? How did the reading kind of play out for you all? I always love to hear. And, because it's nice. The interesting thing is as a collective, as unicorns in this community, the more you all are sharing, the more you all are engaging, the more the energies are souping with each other. And I said this 2 years ago when we started it, the longer that we gather, the longer that we do general readings as a collective, the more intense and more accurate the readings become as a collective. So I encourage you all to share how your weeks have been, what you're feeling energetically, one, to help you get connected to your own feels, right? And to how things play out for you in these energies, but also to really soup and connect with each other because it will make things stronger as we do our readings and as things roll along, okay? So let's do general housekeeping first as people join us in the room, okay? If you are not yet a member of UnicornWellness.Studio, if you join this month with the code GimmeDeBand, and you'll see it in my Instagram stories continuously, and you will be getting emails about it as well, you'll get your first 30 days free on the site, plus my preferred resistance band. I did a little tutorial live last week on Instagram Live about the band, because I think the band is one of those, like, everybody's got a resistance band, and they kind of think they know the magic of it, but there is a little bit more to it, and it does depend on what kind of band you use, whether or not you're feeling the depth of the magic of it or not. So this month, that's what I'm giving as an incentive for new members to make the leap, to join and becoming unicorns. So if you have any questions, you can ask, good morning, Sue, each other in the group, like if you're new, or send me a direct message or comment. Like, we are genuinely here to answer questions and to help. Okay, what else? Members of UnicornWellness.Studio, you guys are getting a secret email. You all are getting information ahead of the general email list, and I do have a pretty large email list. So those who are not yet members on the site, you're gonna have to wait for the information. There's like a 2-week waiting period before you all get to hear some of the transitions and changes happening. Members, it went out on Saturday. Good morning, Sarah. So make sure that if you haven't, checked your email yet, or haven't read it, or didn't see it pop through, that you check in spam or promotional tabs is really usually where it ends up if it's coming from me. 2 weeks ahead of the general email list. That also gives you priority to some booking spots. So there really is a benefit to checking it early. So you guys have a 2-week learning curve on that. So make sure you don't miss it. There are really neat things happening. There are transitions happening. This was supposed to be my month off, and really it's just my month to get to do quieter things. No surprise with all of these retrograde planets, which we're going to talk about, but there are transitions and new things being offered and changes happening, as there always should be. I always say that tending to the members and delivering for you all of what you need and what you want is always evolving, just like life. So the offers that I have available are always evolving and growing. I do listen to your feedback. I do very much try to do as many of the things that you ask for as possible, always in recognition and in the work that we do in self-care. Some things just aren't resonating with me right now, so you won't see those just yet, but as many things as I can facilitate, I will. So members of UnicornWellness.Studio, check your email. You always are getting information 2 weeks ahead of the general mailing list, and that is a thing. Okay. What else? General. Okay. So for those of you who are not members of UnicornWellness.Studio, but are on my mailing list because you all like to get the information and you're kind of, poking and like, is this really going to be for me? And for those of you who get readings for me, but haven't made the leap to membership yet, the information that the members are already getting, you all will see around the 25th of August. One of the things that is coming that I can say is that small group coaching is coming. I think I'm going to cap it at 8 participants, and it may be lower than that. I'm still sitting with how and what I'm going to teach and offer in that. Some of you have already reached out, which is awesome. Those who are members of the site, when I do finally shake out the details of the small group coaching, you all will get a discount on the coaching. Those who are not yet members or not members of UnicornWellness.Studio will also be able to invest in the small group coaching, but it'll be a little bit more because you're not members yet. But you will get access to the site. So there's all kinds of good things going. So just dropping that little information out there. If you haven't read your emails yet, small group coaching is coming. If you're not a member, small group coaching is coming. This has been things that have souped around for a while. Okay, checking in on the general things first before we get to all the big stuff. Let's see. Today's a big day. You guys, I feel a little foggy, groggy. I'm going to be honest. We have a new kitty in our house. We're fostering a kitty. She's hiding under the bed mostly. She's so sweet. And she's so she's just like, it's going to take her a little while to come out. So there's all kinds of neat things happening at my house. I'm going to grab my water real quick. Hi, Cynthia. I see you guys. Okay. I guess let's just dive in to the astrology because it is big this week. It's layered this week. I find it to be very constructive, very auspicious. The potential for good luck and blessings is very big, but that always matters on some things, right? Where do these things fall on your chart? What kind of work of releasing and planting and intention setting and growing and manifesting have you been doing up till this point, right? The universe sets the stage energetically to support or not to support things, but we still have to be in co-creatorship. We have to be doing the work and stuff and the progress. It also always depends on your perspective, how things hit, right? Something that is a release and a let go and a transition can be really upsetting for some people, very sad, and be perceived as a negative, when in the universal aspect of things, it is a constructive release and making space for the receiving, right? So it's not that everything has a silver lining, but everything eventually has a purpose and a silver lining to it. So I think that this energy this week in particular that really, big time started yesterday, is going to be a matter of perspective for each of us who are watching, who are listening, who are living by the astrology and living by the moons. That I think it's as always, what's the work you've been doing? Where is the setup and the trajectory in your chart right now? And what is your perspective on what's happening? So I'm going to plant that and take a sip real fast. Okay. So how to build it so that it makes sense this week. Let's start with some of the bigger stuff. Okay. So yesterday, Jupiter went direct. Uranus went retrograde. So we had a trade out of energies. So we still have 5 major elements. And I say elements because one of them is an asteroid. It's not a planet. So it's like we could say all these planets. Really, it's 4 planets and an asteroid in retrograde still. Okay. So that is big reverse retrograde energy. Things are not moving backwards in the sky. Retrograde means that they station retrograde and they stop in their orbit. and the other things are still moving around them and past them and through them, okay? So they appear to be moving backwards in the sky, but they're not going backwards, they're standing still. So there are still 5 of those major elements. And I say major elements because Chiron is a major interest and concern and focus for me, and therefore for unicorns, and for our community. Chiron is the wounded healer, and since my jam is all about the healing, practical and magical, Chiron plays a major role in what I offer you all in terms of the programming of the workouts and in attention to the energies. So when Chiron is retrograde, I find it very significant to the unicorns on UnicornWellness.Studio and in the movement patterns that we're doing and in the meditations you all are receiving. So there are 5 big elements still retrograde. What does retrograde mean? It means that it's a time to go of inner reflection and inner work. When things station direct, this is when they start to either plant, start to manifest, and start to be tangible 3D in the outside aspect of it. Retrograde is the inside work. Forward direct moving, hi Katie, is the outside manifestation work, okay? So there's so much internal evolution and so much internal healing still being offered to us to sift through because there are these 5 major elements in retrograde. So as a reminder and a recap, it's Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and Chiron. Okay, so we go, oh yay, Jupiter's direct. Like, it's really exciting. We're going to talk about why that's exciting. But instantaneously, literally, Uranus went retrograde. So we were like, oh yeah, we're just out. Oh no, we're not. Oh, we're still in this, yeah, it is a holy moly moment. So like this week, I'm like, well, we've been working with so many retrograde energies within the eclipse season. And I never want things to feel like explosive and like, oh my God, why is it so much? Eclipse season is always a lot. It's always layered, and this is the time, right? But where these things sit matter. So we've still got this Saturn-Pluto business in Capricorn, and this is part of the pressure cooker, right? This was part of this Cancer-Capricorn thing. So it's still kind of like driving things down and in, genuinely trying to create diamonds out of us. It's alchemizing, it's pressure. So these retrograde energies ask us to go within, meaning how can I adjust? What can I evolve? How can I take responsibility? Yesterday, I had a beautiful conversation of, feeling empowered and making choices in our life. I think that my hope is that rather than seeing choices and empowerment as, degrading or stepping or stomping on somebody else and letting them suffer the consequences of our empowered choices to put ourselves and our self-care first, I do believe that this is a version and what people perceive as self-care or as empowerment, or quite clearly as feminism. And what they don't understand is that empowerment for yourself and choices and self-care and evolution and moving and putting yourself as a priority does not have to come at the expense of somebody else. This is, really equality and oppression, right? It's not pie. Like, more for me doesn't mean less for somebody else. And so as unicorns, I really encourage us and guide us. And the undercurrent is that we learn how to empower ourselves, how to practice self-care, how to make constructive decisions when we know we're in imbalanced or toxic situations that we would like to see improve, very simply. And actually, there were 2 conversations yesterday that were a beautiful reflection of this and loud in the universe. That in order for something to get better, or in order to move forward, to evolve, to empower yourself, to heal, something actually doesn't have to be particularly bad or wrong. Or if something is toxic, in imbalance, not constructive, you can choose to leave those situations without it heaping like fault and revenge and weird negative energy and karma that drags things down. The point and the purpose of working with the astrology, of working with the moons, of practicing radical self-care is to start to understand that simply by identifying what you need in balance does not have to come at the cost of somebody else. Sometimes that is our own doing and unraveling and understanding. That's like, I'm choosing this. I'm not meaning ill for anybody else or for what I'm leaving behind or what I no longer participate in. It's just not for me anymore, and that there can be a release and an opening. So when we go through all of these retrograde energies, this is a direct call for us to sift and sort through all of these aspects of our lives, of what needs reevaluating, what needs leaving, what needs release, what needs work, and where can I just be open to receive where I just was not capable of receiving before. Maybe not more effort, but more allowance for things to come in and to flow through. So all of this retrograde energy says it's energetic work. It's inside. It's the inside job. And it says put more attention on yourself in a constructively co-creatorship sense of, it's like the personal inventory. Really, okay, what is the goal that I say that I want? Am I doing the things towards it that can help that? If I'm not, am I recruiting help, or am I learning the things that I don't know in order to get me to that? In that personal inventory, I really, really suggest that we start to look at, again, ditching the guilt and the deprivation and the shame or the perfectionism of why it didn't happen before. Everything is happening as it should be, right? Based on fate and free will. Good morning, Valerie. That we are constantly getting to make choices, and that honestly, regardless of our choices, we're exactly where we're supposed to be, but we keep being given new opportunities. So the new opportunities when all of these elements are retrograde are really about the introspection, the self-evaluation, and the reevaluation of, am I doing what I should be doing? Yesterday I had another topic that layers into these, like, what does empowerment look like? What do choices look like? My Instagram, post yesterday, was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. Days all run together. I don't know. Was about, repeating or evolution. And this concept of repetition always having a negative connotation. And as members of UnicornWellness.Studio, y'all should, I'm going to spell it out today, right? Because I think sometimes you need it said and spelled out. Like the repetition of getting on the mat, of a hydration, of meditation, of listening to the tarot readings. I mean, these are the 4 staples of UnicornWellness.Studio membership. That these are constructive repetition. That repetition, we are given choices every day to repeat or to evolve, but the connotation is that repetition is negative, that it's always a bad habit, that it's always dragging us down. No, the point is to learn how to repeat the good stuff, what increases our vibration, what makes us feel confident, what supports us, what's really working. Keep doing that. And I love the go-between between wellness, health, and business, like goals, because they're tangible. They are actionable and tangible. In a business, you can make tangible movements in order to get to your goal, usually growth, right? Or stability and maintenance. So when things aren't growing in a business and when they're not doing well, you have a coach come in and look at, well, okay, what are you doing right? What's still working? And what have you neglected and what's not really working? We'll go adjust the things that aren't, but dude, keep doing the things that really, really work, right? Same things for your health and your wellness. That when you look at it, you go, actually, and this is clear with members, right? When you get on the mat, you go, I got the movement and lockdown, because I can name you all, most of you that are like, I am on the mat 7 days a week. It's 30 minutes a day. It's like brushing my teeth. I get there. I have no problem with that. Okay. Keep repeating that. Right? But then you go, okay, I've done like 1 meditation. Okay, so that one needs a little bit of evolution, right? So this idea of, evolution and repetition, I really call to us because of what's going on astrologically this week, to look at what's working, to keep and maintain the repetition of that. But because of all of the retrograde energies, we really have to look at what needs evolution, even in tiny and mighty ways. That sometimes the smallest adjustment makes the biggest change and transition, right? So the energy this week is layered and big and offers a lot. The energy right now in total is still big and offers a lot. I don't feel like we're being drug around by our heartstrings anymore. Not right now. the week before last, I said it's gonna calm down. It's gonna feel more supported. It's gonna feel a little bit sweeter. And even in the tiniest of ways, it did, and it was. Last week offered a lot of karmic catharsis and transition because of these things happening. So let's dig into it a little bit for those of you who are joining. So yesterday, Jupiter stationed direct, Uranus stationed retrograde, and let's get the noisemakers and the party hats out. As of today, Mercury is officially out of its shadow phase. So we are officially today done with the Mercury retrograde shenanigans. And Mercury is in Leo, moves into Leo. So it's like, it's so much happier. Leo just is this beautiful, expansive, happy, very confident energy. So there's one of the big pluses that you should feel, I hate the word should, a little bit of a, okay, there's a lightening and an expansiveness of something going on here. So we can't blame Mercury anymore, okay? There should be some messages and some understanding and some ahas and some downloads from this last Mercury retrograde. Remember, we have 3 of them a year. It is part of our process. It shouldn't always capsize the boat, but it puts a little bit of a rock in the waves, right? So as of today, there is more ease in communications, number one. There is more ease in getting your point across, in being heard, and people responding to you. In being seen and feeling confident. And there should be, again, the shoulds, that we're hoping that because of this retrograde season and because of Mercury retrograde, that there are some understandings now about yourself, about your self-confidence, about how you communicate in the world, how better to communicate and transition, and a little bit more of what will lead you to empowerment in this self, in this lifetime, in this incarnation, okay? So that's a beautiful thing. It also takes the excuse off the table for things going a little wonky. However, okay, let's talk about Jupiter, because that's really kind of the most fun piece right now. That when Jupiter goes direct, Jupiter is considered to be like the Santa Claus of the chart. Anywhere Jupiter is, it expands things. So in your personal natal chart, whatever house it's in, there's like an amplification to that. And it is seen to give, oh, thank you guys. It is seen to give good luck. Okay. So at its best, Jupiter expands and it offers good luck. It's very jovial. It's well-meaning. Okay. So there can feel like this like amazing good luck in the air. And I know that the astrology does not affect everyone exactly the same. Like Carla just offered up in the YouTube chat, it's like, these are the things that are most likely to happen. However, the caveat as a unicorn and me as a teacher is that you have to be doing the work to lead up to getting the benefit of it, which this is the point of getting on the mat, of being in meditation, of listening to the weekly tarot, of living by the moons, is that when we're in preparation, we meet the universe halfway and we do as much as we can to get the benefit and the harnessing of when these really big, constructive, potentially constructive and transformative energies come into play. So Jupiter is one of those. Again, I'm going to repeat, because at the beginning of this, I said, when these things come in, yeah, like moon power right on, but Jupiter going direct in its home sign of Sagittarius is like, dun, 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 like Sag is so enthusiastic that there's a lot of potential to really like make some big expansive changes and have some really good luck happening. However, if you haven't done the prep work to it, it may still feel scrambled. It may feel missed. It may feel like I'm not ready to make these decisions that could take me because I'm not feeling comfortable and grounded in it, right? The prep work hasn't been laid. So the centering and calm isn't there to call upon. Okay. And what I said before is that any of these energies that come into play, there's always an opportunity. As a matter of perspective, what is released and let go and what leaves our lives in these periods of time actually can be highly lucky and cathartic and transformative. But our humanness may get stuck in the, oh God, there's too many changes and this is gone. And now, we get stuck in the deprivation of it and the sadness of it. Now, sadness is, I'm all for, but when these things transition and transform, remember that everything's happening in divine timing. And what is divine is not always understood by human. And so what looks like bad luck may actually be very good luck in the long run. So I hope that's clear, right? This is kind of the gig of, it's like there's not an absolute answer. What we have to do is take the energies at play, take self-responsibility for the evolution and the self-discovery and the actions that we can take, put it in the best perspective, do our very best, right? Something that I'm loving is School of Betty. So Brianna, she's around here. If you don't follow her, you should go follow her. She teaches, empowerment, life coaching, and finances for women. But in her journal that I use and talked about in this month's monthly newsletter, at the end of the week, it always asks, did you do your best? And it feels really good for the last few weeks too. Yeah, I did my best. So this is what it asks for us. That is, are we doing our best with the information that we have? Are we doing our very best to try to keep a positive explanation and a silver lining out of it, and understanding that the universe works in very mysterious ways, and what can be perceived as really terrible luck may turn out to be better in the long run and really good luck. So Jupiter going direct offers us good luck and expansion. But I do know that some transitions and release have to happen before you can offer things to come in and receive. So those releases may not look like good luck. They may look like some terrible luck. Yeah, exactly. So like Val just said on YouTube, she's like our second need for another car and our leaky garage roof. Like there are things that really look like the human shitstorm that you're like, oh God. But who you meet in the process of fixing them, how you solve it, seeing new solutions, who comes in to gift assistance where it wasn't expected. These are divine blessings and these are good luck, right? So Jupiter has stationed direct. Yay! Mercury is out of its shadow. Yay! And then we have Uranus that has stationed retrograde. I don't know that it's a yay or a boo, but it's big. Okay, so when Uranus orbits through a sign, it takes 8 years at a time to do that. And so this year it moved into a new sign. So it was already big Uranian energy that we've been discussing. The baseline that you should know about Uranus is that it's electrical current energy, and that it is known as the spell breaker. So I love the idea of some Uranus, right? It's also retrograde in Taurus. Taurus is resources. So more of the details of this are in my Instagram feed, in my post for today. So go and look at it, spend a little time. Sometimes reading it and seeing it in its list form makes a little more sense to us. But Uranus is electrical current energy. And so this is electricity. It's high vibe. It's the higher octave, is considered a little bit the higher octave of Mercury. So bigger messages, like bigger understanding, bigger ahas and breakthroughs, right? So if you look at it as a spell breaker, limitations that we feel that we have had in the past, or we know we've had in the past, as an individual and as a collective, has the opportunity of the breakthrough because Uranus is there. I always see Uranus as like the breaker of the glass ceiling. Literally. So it disrupts. It's a disruptor. And disruption can be uncomfortable and loud and a little scary. I mean, think of a protest, like a really big and loud protest where you're like, this could go really wrong. Like, is it going to get violent? Like, or is this going to be, like the Women's March, just millions of people just banding together, and you see the hope and potential out of it, and the constructive nature and the potential of people working together. So Uranian energy is interesting for unicorns, for those of us who are sensitive, for those of us who know we're highly connected to divine energies. tread lightly. When it makes a shift, it can incite anxiety, and anxiety is really the biggest one. And so you kind of feel like the volume got turned up and your system's a little jittery. So that means to stay away from caffeine or to lower it down. Yeah, the universe really does break us down to build us up. And it is about how much faith and surrender we have, and working with the tools that are present at the time, and recruiting other things, and honestly, staying calm. Like, if anything, parenthood has taught me, it's like, stay calm. You're not really sure how things are going to shake out. So you can only just meet the moment in itself, right? As humans, where we go wrong is being stuck in the past. It's a lot of depression, being stuck in the past, or too worried and involved in the future, which is anxiety. So Uranus and Uranian energy is electrical current. It's technology, and so it's very forward thinking. It's the disruptor, right? It's unique. So it loves future aspects of things. So it can bring in an anxious energy that kind of fries our system. So how do we navigate that? We stay away from some spicy foods. We, keep our caffeine intake low and minimum, or not at all. We up our hydration big time, and we get grounded. Work on the mat. Get on the mat, do your workouts. And then in meditation and outside, it is August, so get outside, get your feet in the dirt, go sit up against a tree, plant some flowers, do something that connects you to Mother Earth. These are the grounding things. So high vibration is very magical, right? Your vibe attracts your tribe, and we want to increase our vibration and get all the woo-woo and magic we can. But that by itself, that energy, that increase, our ascension, that leveling up of frequency, actually throws us off the rails. So we have to be grounded in order to utilize and to channel the Uranian energy specifically. And those of you who are members of UnicornWellness.Studio or who get my newsletter have heard this before, because we're going to be dealing with this energy for the next 8 years big time. But anytime it makes a shift to the direct, changes a sign or goes to retrograde like Uranus did yesterday, it's going to amplify this potential. So in order to use the magic, in order to harness the spell breaker capacity, we have to be grounded in order to channel these high vibrations. So it's not just about vibration raising when we're speaking about the spiritual or the energetic or the magical, however you want to communicate it. This is about equal grounding. Now, understand that if we get too grounded and stuck in the mud and fixed in our ways, and little too Taurus, I'm Taurus sun, Virgo or Capricorn's playing a huge role in this. People, this is my goal, I'm sticking to it. That then we thwart the breakthroughs, then we don't utilize progress, then we're not evolving. So there's a balance, as always, between grounding and rooting and these upper vibrations that are getting literally poured into us right now. So if you're feeling tired, this Lionsgate portal is real energy too. If there's, headaches and those kinds of things, this is what's happening. So we have to work with our physical body in order to harness these energetic pieces so that we're not capsized and just tending to the physical vessel of like, I'm tired and I have a headache, so I'm going to go to bed. Self-care, take some time out, rest, get hydrated. Hydration is going to be the main thing right now. And hydration doesn't only mean water. It means electrolytes. So, and don't go dumping crappy Gatorade in your body. There, I said it. Just take a teaspoon of pink salt, Himalayan pink salt, put it in 32 ounces of water and drink that, and get your body capable of absorbing the nutrients and absorbing the hydration as we go. Okay. So Mercury, out of shadow, hooray. Jupiter, direct, hooray. Uranus, retrograde, but has a lot to offer us, okay? And again, depending on your personal astrological natal chart, where these things sit or what they're hitting in the transits matter. Just to share, like my natal Chiron wound is getting like drug over by this Uranian energy. And I just keep visualizing it as it, this is the spell breaker. This is the breakthrough. This is the healing. So there's some discomfort there as it's like, oh, running over it, and then backtracking. And it's going to have to move forward again. And you're like, oh, for crying out loud, so it's not for the faint of heart, but there should be some joy here. Jupiter is joy for sure. And there's still a lot in Leo. So that's very joyful. So, soak it up while you can, because things will shift again. And there you go. Let's look at the comments real fast. Yeah, I try to stay away from absolutes of like what is absolutely like a soul poison, or to be every body is slightly different. And in human form, I do believe, we're all little molecules that are vibrating at different rates, and that we do need to use some things, and that bodies can tolerate different things, but we really need to hone in on what works for us and what resonates for us, because then we get into judgment of like how to be spiritual and how to be how to be a unicorn. I mean, there's habits and tactics, but the transition in those things can be a little different for each person, and that is okay, right? But the hydration part is that our bodies is 70% water. We need it to thrive and be well anyhow, but you add the layer of energetics and psychic and spiritual connection and component, and we need even more. And we need to be really connected to it and aware of it at certain periods of time. So I feel that one, it's summer in the northern hemisphere, so it's just hot. You need the hydration. But with Uranian energy coming through and this frequency adjust, that it can hop over to anxiety real fast if we're not allowing it to filter and run through. Think of water and hydration. It's lubrication, and like fuel for the energetic highway. So you need it. So here's your reminder to drink more water. And we're aiming at half your body weight in ounces of water a day, and a little more probably because it's hotter, because each person is so different. I'm just kind of look. Is higher anxiety levels a Uranus and Taurus thing? No, it's not. Uranian energy is by nature a little anxiety, but Taurus is the earth energy. So Uranus and Taurus has a significance, and of it being about our resources. Taurus is about making money, and it's about resources, and it's about not. Taurus gets kind of bastardized into being the I'm losing words. I call Taurus the sensualist, high quality things, right? Like things that last a lifetime, things that are tangible and beautiful and high quality, touch, taste, sight, and sound, but quality endeavors that last a lifetime. So Uranus in Taurus is a signifier as the collective, as a changing of our resources to last longer. It also has this tech bent on it, like with a leaning towards Bitcoin kind of things. But this is really like, how do we allow our resources? So this has a lot to do with the environment, but this is also very personal: time, money, and energy. It's a shift for resources, to use them better, not to squander them, not to waste them. The anxiety levels of it will just be with us, but Uranus is always with us. I think, as a general note, Uranus in Taurus is actually grounded, because Taurus is an earth sign. So that if like Uranus and Pisces, I think would be like anxiety levels for 8 years that we're really dealing with. So these are kind of like bigger things that literally could take us hours to talk about. I don't think that Uranus and Taurus is about anxiety levels being higher for 8 years. No, it offers us an opportunity to ground, to make quality transitions in our resources, both collectively and individually. But if we are not managing our self-care, then these higher vibrations and octaves that are being offered to us in terms of resources, time, money, and energy. So remember, energy is about the body, that it will just run us ragged instead of us being able to channel it and utilize it. Okay. I hope that was clear. But that was a really good question, Carla. What else? Yeah, Tracy's, yeah, both in your third house. How you're communicating, how people connect with you, how the community sees you. These things could shift, and in really positive ways. How do you, like, your community may grow in just this beautiful way. Yeah, and water conducts electricity, so it helps your neurons fire. Like all of these things, they're just all layers on top of layers that have a root in science, that have a practical application that we want to utilize to keep us calm and as comfortable as possible, making positive decisions for our personal evolution and growth, and for the collective evolution and growth. Like it really does get down to that. Like, how can we be better to each other and ourselves? That's it. So knowing where things are at, helpful. So our basic bits of like living by the moons this week is that the moon goes through Scorpio, it goes through no, did I write it down wrong? Hang on, where did I write things down? No, that's the wrong one. That's not what we want right now in the least bit. Moons this week. I was like, that's not right. Capricorn. So Capricorn is the CEO of the chart. Let's get some shit done. Get it done. What's the goal? So this can be a very productive couple of days at the beginning of this week. Then it moves into Aquarius, which is where our full moon is. And we'll talk about that in a minute. And then into Pisces, which can be, you know, all the emos, all the feels, but highly psychic. So let's backtrack to, let's move my notes around. Let's move on to the full moon, okay? So our full moon is on Thursday the 15th here in the Northern Hemisphere, and it's in Aquarius, okay? So Aquarius solves, hi Brianna, for the highest and greatest good of all involved. Aquarian energy is the alien of the chart. This is philanthropic energy. This is humanitarian energy. Aquarius is super non-emo. So I always find a full moon in Aquarius to be interesting because full moons usually, you know, moons are our emotional body and power. So this moon may not feel as emo, right? Like but we're looking for solutions. Like we are looking for solutions as individuals and in collectives. Like we need some solutions. So this moon's going to highlight that. So remember that when we have a full moon, the first thing is we'll go through the houses here in just a little bit, Aaron's. We'll go through, we'll do unicorn bingo today for sure. Okay. So we will get to which house things are in a minute. When we have a full moon, the first thing to do is to look at what's been brought to fruition, what has been created, what has been manifested. Then we decide what got us to this point and what is no longer serving our highest and greatest good that we need to release. So I always use the very silly, you know, like we had a big project and so you took on an extra cup of coffee a day in order to get yourself to bribe yourself through this project that needed to come to manifestation. Well, now that the project's done, you don't need that extra cup of coffee because it's going to fry your system, right? So, you know, look at it. They don't have to be major. They don't have to be epic to be a release. Sometimes it is the tiny and mighty, really practical tactics that need to be let go of. The other side of a full moon is that you look at, I haven't brought things to fruition. I didn't manifest my goal or goals. In fact, I got real caught up in procrastination and like nothing moved forward. So what now do I need to release in order to move forward for my highest and greatest good? And is that goal and manifestation still something that I want? And now how do I set it in motion to get that because I'm letting go of something? So if procrastination is the issue, like, hey, I had a goal, but I just didn't move the dial forward at all. You need to release the procrastination, right? You're like, well, okay, if it was just as simple as that, we'd all be high achievers and be in manifestation love. Hi, Julia, you're not late. Everybody's good. You're here. That counts. But it's time now in the full moon to go, how do I recruit for help? Who do I need to enlist? You know? So yeah, I am going to offer small group training because this is something I haven't offered. And there's only so many hours in a day, but I hear you all. And some of you really do need the accountability and want the accountability. And if it's not from me, then from somebody else. And it's time to ask and recruit for help. And in order to move yourself forward, if you're frustrating yourself with your own procrastination, and watching many moons go by and what you want not come to fruition, well, good, you've tried doing it on your own, right? But it hasn't worked. So now you need some help. So ask for help, recruit help. So full moons, again, get dumbed down to release and letting go. And they are about that. But first, they have to be about what did you bring to fruition? Full moons offer a spotlight energetically on things, and they offer attention on things. New moons are quiet. They're a great time to start things because they're quiet. Nobody's watching, so I'm going to go try this over here, right? Full moons are loud. Everybody sees you. What's going on? You know, so the full moon energy shines a light on something, and you have this moment to be like, I'm really proud of that. I totally did that. We did that. Or it's progressed to this stage. Okay, now what needs to be released in order for us to keep going? Or you go, I didn't bring anything. And it's loud. And there's a big old spotlight on the fact that nothing manifested and nothing changed. What do I need to release in order to help me move forward to that for my highest and greatest good? Nice and simple. You can't receive until you release. Okay. And so this is where these big energies of Jupiter direct and Uranus retrograde and all of these retrograde energies, the internal stuff is asking for release. And so we have to release in order to receive. You cannot be a hoarder emotionally, energetically, or physically and expect to be able to have new opportunities and new things come into your life or expansion. There's no room for it. So you want bigger and better, you want new and more, you want growth, you got to clean some stuff out. And that might be people and relationships. It might be your own perspective. It might be some old emotions. It might be some real physical things. So again, go back to the practical. Maybe you just need to literally clean out your kitchen and your closet. Maybe that's all the little shift you need right now. Don't stash stuff, right? When you hang on to things, it says to the universe, I'll never get any more. I'll never have more. So I'm not letting go of this. And then the universe says, you always have everything you need. You're proving that you don't trust. So I can't have anything else show up for you. You got to let it go, right? So this goes back into luck can look like a bunch of things. Transition is really where we want to keep our eye on things. Where are things leaving and where is that leaving space for things to come in? And also really moving through things with more emotional maturity of instead of being sad and capsized and tantruming over what is lost and gone, try to make use of what was there, what was learned, what has been left behind, what is the legacy, and what does it leave a gateway open for? Okay, big shift of perspective here. So full moon on Thursday the 15th. Okay, so it's Mother Nature's best, life coach. What have we brought to fruition? What needs to be let go of? And really hunker into the practical and the magical. Look at the physical, functional, look at the spiritual, emotional, and look at the energetic. And the ways to do that is we're going to get to the weekly tarot, but your full moon reading is up for UnicornWellness.Studio members. So you can go in and watch, that now, the full moon reading, that there's going to be certain themes at play for us as unicorns that are different for others. Okay. So let's get into looking at the time. Okay, we can do this. All right, let's go. Let's head into Unicorn Bingo. So Erin on Instagram, when Erin's asking about Uranus, like in the second house. Now remember that things work as layer cakes, and then we talk about it as a collective. We're looking at individual cases, but that gives us a lot of insight. Okay, so we're gonna play Unicorn Bingo. If you have your personal astrological natal chart, I work from a whole house sign system. If you've done a simple stars reading with me, then you have a copy of it. If you don't have it with you right now, it's okay, take notes, but it's on YouTube in perpetuity. You can come back to this. So we're going to talk about Aquarius specifically, that you'd be looking for where Aquarius this full moon this week falls in your personal natal chart to look at what needs releasing, letting go, or where there's an opportunity to go, what have I brought to fruition here? What have I really manifested here? Okay. But Erin will go through the houses, which house each thing is, and then you can use that to kind of answer some of your own questions about Uranus. Okay. So, if you have Aquarius in the first house, this full moon, what's it going to be about, right? In a whole house sign chart, this means you're Aquarius rising, that this is your true internal heart-centered self. And if it's in your first house, the first house is the house of identity. I am, who am I? And the question that I really like as a practical application is, how do I deal with myself, right? I think Aquarius in the first house is really interesting for the how do I deal with myself, because Aquarius solves for the highest and greatest good of all and does not get emotional about things. That can be very frustrating to other people and to some things, but it can also be just really useful. Like I just need to solve it. And my goal is to solve it for the highest and greatest good of all. So when you have Aquarius in the first house, you can be disconnected from yourself. So be on the lookout for that, right? It can also say that sometimes you perceive yourself as a third party. that again can be constructive, but also distances you mostly physically and emotionally. So embodiment's going to be something that you're going to work with and deal with. As a wellness coach for 20 years, what I see is that those with Aquarius and the sun are rising in these prominent placements, there can be a lot of distancing from the physical body and therefore from the emotional body. So it's about integration of mind, body, soul, and embodiment, understanding that it all soups together. They actually aren't separate, that the soul doesn't know the difference between its physical body, even though we know we're more than a physical body. So if you have Aquarius in the first house, it's going to be self and identity, but I'm also hearing more that has more to do with embodiment and integrating the mind, body, and soul, which would be like, hey, go get on the mat, go do the meditation, work with your tarot readings, repeat, repeat, repeat. So constructive nature of repetition in order to get the good stuff churning more often than not. So I can hear that this also is, rather than staying emotionally distanced from yourself for the highest and greatest good, it's kind of like double down and get in there to really tend to yourself in order to make a transition, right? Because Aquarius doesn't really want to deal with emotions and personal nature. They ghost on people. They can ghost on themselves with it in the first house. So getting in there, being honest, who you are, what do you want, what does it feel like? Because getting Aquarius grounded is the big deal for balance and power and empowerment and manifestation and healing for Aquarius. Okay. So then we go into the second house. So Erin, here's to answer your question. The second house is the house of how do you gather your goods? And this is one of those, like, the houses 1 through 6 deal with this 3D plane, this 3D incarnation. So the second house, there's nothing more 3D than the second house. It does not have to do with your career, but it has to do with when you need food, water, or shelter, how do you go about getting it? So if you have Aquarius in the second house, okay, this has everything to do with you think about it. You have a million ideas about how to solve something, how to get something, what will be the least impact for the most benefit. So this is a little similar to Virgo, is that sometimes we can think about the process of getting things so much that it prevents us from actually doing things. So if you have Aquarius in the second house, this is going to be, how do you gather your goods? I look at this as strategy. Like what do you want? Okay, what's the goal? It's full moon, like what were you aiming towards? Then think about the best way to strategize to get it, but then immediately follow it up with the to-do list and get it functional and practical. Aquarius can spiral in thoughts and ideas, and they can be genius level, but if they're never grounded and implemented in this 3D plane, ain't nothing ever come to fruition, and the idea didn't even count because it didn't do anything. So, Aquarius in the second house is a powerful one. So this could be a transition out of procrastination, out of never grounding things, out of never seeing things come to fruition sort of stuff. Uranus in the second house is not really going, so Erin, to answer your question, is not totally going to be like the big highlight. The highlight is what sign is in your second house. And then Uranus is sitting on top of the sign, and amplifying that, so to speak. Not particularly, it will amplify the house, but it works a little differently than the moon works, okay? So third house. The third house, I think Tracy in the YouTube chat mentioned it earlier. Third house is the house of communication. How do you connect to the outside world? So this can be really simple of, like, again, Aquarius solves for the highest and greatest good. They're idea makers. They're brilliant. They're geniuses. They can be. And all about the thought pattern. They're really in their head, and so can sometimes come off as the nutty professor sort of, persona, that they're thinking, coming up with things, theorizing things. But again, the issue with Aquarius is getting it to get grounded and become something. So third house is how you communicate with the outside world. This could be simply as sharing ideas, that the ideas that you share are expanded in the world, right? That, communities may increase, or the communities that you connect with shift. It's time you've got different ideas about things, and you need to be able to talk about those with the right groups. So, that's where third house comes in. Okay. Fourth house is the house of home. So, on a practical level, this can deal with the home life you grew up in. This can bend towards, if Aquarius is in your fourth house, highly analytical households that might have been emotionally not available, or a parent or a caregiver that plays that significant role for you. But way I like to look at the fourth house is your sense of safety, and your soul's sense of safety in the world is really what home is. So what allows your soul in this lifetime to feel safe, cultivate more of that, because your soul's safety is part of embodiment and integration and empowerment and trusting your instincts and your intuition and divine messaging. So Aquarius in the fourth house, this house of home, cultivating more ideas, daydreaming maybe a little bit more, journaling hypothetical situations, giving yourself time to explore the what ifs and ideas. Again, don't get stuck there because there's always balance. But with Aquarius in the fourth house, you may have learned, because it denotes an emotionally distanced caregiver of some kind, but a really intelligent, intellectual, like philosophical kind of household, that where, thoughts and homework, a little tiger mommy, right? That these are the things that count and matter. So that can create a wound for the mother wound. And that may have said, we don't get so much into all the analytical thought process. And it says, but your soul needs that in order to feel safe in this lifetime. So give yourself constructive time to journal, to think, to daydream, to ponder, and allow that to take up some space in a constructive, safe way in your life. Okay. Fifth house is the house of creativity. Fifth house is so layered, but this is really, what do you produce in the world? What do you give? What do you make? So it can, reference literal children. It can be businesses, business partnerships. It can be literal works of art. So Aquarius in the fifth house with this full moon, what are you making in the world? So again, look at the ideas that you have or have had that have never hit the concrete, never become anything. Or maybe you won't give them a chance to become something. Maybe it's time to give them a chance. Sixth house. The sixth house is the house of love. How do you show or express love? So how do you teach? How do you help? How do you improve? So if Aquarius is in the sixth house, this can be a little troublesome in a 3D world, because Aquarius already is not very wired for emotions. They're not. It's thought patterns. It's analytics. It's an intellectual nature thinking. So Aquarius in the sixth house can be a little struggle. Aquarius is so smart, okay? This energy is so smart. But in giving and showing up and helping and teaching, Aquarius is not always the best at that energy. So if Aquarius is in the sixth house, I always recommend that, 5 love languages? Because Aquarius is so smart that I recommend that you all read that book, so that you know how to show up for people. Aquarius can take direction if they're willing. They love deeply, but it's an intellectual love. So if you have Aquarius in the sixth house, you need to look at how you're physically, functionally showing up in the world for things that you care about or for people you care about. Okay, so Taryn's calling herself out. She's like, that's where mine is. I got one very similar, so don't worry. That, Aquarius loves intellectually really deeply. And because they think about someone or something, they believe that that's love, because there's so much power and energy behind it. However, it's a 3D world. If you have a relationship and you don't ever tell that person you care about them, there's never any acts of service of doing little piddly bits for them because you like to, because it's nice, because it's fun, leaving them notes. There's no tangible thing. So the whole idea of knowing love languages and how to show up for people is, if you're giving love the way you receive it, oftentimes you're taking your emotional coin of love and dropping it right beside their bank, and that person feels empty and unloved and appreciated and unseen. And so if you can learn the other person's language and you go, I don't really get this, and that's not how I receive love, but I'm going to put that coin inside their bank, all of a sudden they're happy and willing to do things for you too. So those with Aquarius in the sixth house, if you haven't read that book, go read the book. It's short and sweet, and really it can be a big game changer, because Aquarius, you can learn how to show up for people in tangible ways. You're not wired for it. in that house. So, and then if you've got Aquarius, if your moon's in Aquarius too. So like, let's put it this way: sun, rising, moon, or 6th and 7th house Aquarius. We all need to understand these things. We need to learn these things because we'll show up once we intellectually understand. But if we don't know someone's love language, then people think we don't care because we're not physically showing up for them, tangibly showing up. So I hope that was clear because that's a big one. 7th house. So 7th house Aquarius is your house of relationships. Okay. I'll raise my hand. This is me. This is another little tricky one, like the 6th house, is that this has to do with how do you deal with others. So it can be really constructive. Oh, okay, Jill, yours in the 6th house too. So 2 seconds. Instagram's going to click off. Okay, so we're still live on YouTube and it'll be uninterrupted. I will turn around and restart Instagram here in just a minute. So it may pop off. So Aquarius in the 7th house. Oh, Chris, yes. Whoa. Okay, so Chris, this is going to be a big old moon for you. It's going to be a big week. Big 2 weeks, really. 3 weeks. So just hang in there. So Aquarius in the 7th house. 7th house is how we deal with others. So Aquarius in the 7th house can be really constructive, right? Understand that. It can be like when we talk to people, we want to solve for the highest and greatest good. So we can, very annoyingly to some people, but also constructively, turn on the immediate therapist and the immediate moderator, even for ourselves. That's really frustrating to people because then it sounds like we always know what's right. We're always trying to be fair and we really are trying to solve for the collective, but people will see it and it will come out as the know-it-all. And like we always know the right answer. Yeah. So it's constructive in nature because if Aquarius is in our 7th house, we solve for the highest and greatest good of all. We want people to feel better. We want equality. We want everybody to have as much goodness as humanly possible. But how do we spread that around? It's how we deal with others. But in order to get to that, we can emotionally disengage because we're trying to solve. And when that comes to close relationships, partnerships, best friends, business partnerships, sometimes that doesn't feel very good, right? Because the love is lost. There's no emo supporting that. So we have to integrate, again, the love languages, be gentle in our approach to our communications, knowing that we mean well and we're working for the highest and greatest good. But sometimes we get a little know-it-all-y, or we just disengage emotionally, and people may feel that and experience that and go, well, they're just trying to be right then. Like they don't feel me. So I do think that Aquarius in the 7th house is a big one, and that this full moon has so much to offer constructively in relationships, really getting past some bad habits. But getting past some bad habits may mean that that relationship doesn't stick around, right? So there's that. Okay. So 7th house is a big one for this. But again, Chris, you've got some multiple whammies, multiple layers in your cake this go around with this moon. So just tread carefully, sift it out, journal, listen to the readings, just have that soft ear and allow whatever sounds loud to be where the medicine and the track is that you need to be going towards. I'm going to turn the Instagrammies on again. Okay, here we go. Before I start the next one. Okay, Instagram, we're back. So we kind of 7th house may have lapsed a little bit, but it's on YouTube. So 8th house, if Aquarius is in your 8th house, the 8th house is the house of death and sex. It can be related to other people's money, which is really weird. But what do these things have to do with each other? 8 is the number of empowerment. I think anybody with Aquarius in the 8th house, if anybody's got it, let me know if you guys want to share that. This is going to be a big 3 weeks for you. The 8th house, death and sex, they're both transitions, right? Death is the release and the transition from this earthly plane to the energetic realm. This is the place where I think people can get really capsized in transition, in particular in these big energies of release, and they're shocked that people are passing, and meanwhile, it has to be embraced as a constructive benefit. When they release, it allows a new soul to come in. When people transition to the other side, often they can be of more use to us. On the other side of things, they may have been asked to protect us from that side instead of this side. So there's a lot of these layers, right? So the eighth house is death and sex. So death is the release of the soul from this incarnation, a transition to the other. It's a release of the soul. But sex also is like at the point of climax is known as little death, because it's that moment of bliss, of release, of like, where am I? And that flood, right? So understanding that practical and tangible aspects of release, we've talked about it, touched on it a little bit, but we never have enough real time to dig into whole like sex magic. That orgasm is an important piece of manifestation and magic. And so these are things that we just want to think about, that in the eighth house empowerment, what these really have to do with is releasing in order to welcome in. It has to do with manifestation. So Aquarius in the eighth house is going to be, again, an embodiment issue. I mean, getting more in tune to the sensual pleasures of your body, because Aquarius can be so nutty professor, intellectual, genius level thoughts that they miss out on the goods of it being physical, right? Skin to skin contact. So there's that. So I always look at as the eighth house as the house of like how well your soul is templated to manifest. Sometimes the more crowded it is with elements, that can be a little harder. It's like a little, like you got stuff to walk around and trip over before you can manifest. But Aquarius, again, because your brain is so strong and so magical, manifestation can be high, but what's not is your grounding, and you can't manifest without grounding. So I think embodiment's where it's at for eighth house Aquarius right now in this moon. Ninth house. Ninth house is how you connect on the inside. How do you connect to yourself? But what is the self? What is the inside? This is spirit. This is divine spirit. So the ninth house to me always calls to what type of meditation practice you have. Aquarius in the ninth house, because it's so heady, can have trouble quieting the mind to sit in meditation. And I'm not a fan of silent meditation. So I think it's good to keep the brain busy with constructive sounds. I think for Aquarius in the ninth house, you just need to anchor into your meditation practice through this full moon. If you don't have a meditation practice, the easy way to try is to press play on your guided meditation on UnicornWellness.Studio. But there is a call to Aquarian energy in the ninth house for transcendental meditation. So just hear that. You can go do your own Googling and research, or message me later about it. Okay. 10th house is the house of empowerment. Now, the 10th house usually has to do with your career. Cool. Okay. So this really has to do, if you're not career motivated or focused, this is about legacy. So again, hear these different levels of words that, 10th house of empowerment often denotes career, like where you will, but this is where you'll leave your legacy. So in order to leave a legacy, you don't have to have a career, right? So legacy, Aquarius in the 10th house really is about solving for the highest and greatest good of all. This does call to philanthropic, humanitarian, non-for-profit, stay-at-home parenting, honestly. So this, just look at where that is, where that call is, and what's not being fulfilled or what could be fulfilled shifts and changes with this full moon with Aquarius in the 10th house. Aquarius in the 10th house often calls that you have a very good idea to help the collective somehow. If you have not put it into play, now's the time. And if you have put it into play, it can get a bump of visibility, of good luck, and of opportunity if you're working on it and putting it out there, okay? 11th house. The 11th house is the house of like friendships and networking. So Aquarius in the 11th house, I think, as an astrologer, can be a little lonely. because you get so into your brain and into thought processes that doesn't leave a lot of space for people. One of the imbalances of Aquarius is that they're so smart, so lost in the ethers. It can run really high psychic messaging and thought processes. Creative ideas are psychic. They're gifts from the universe. We don't construct our creative endeavors. Like, you ask any artist and they're like, I don't know, it just came through me, right? So Aquarian energy can be highly creative, but it doesn't allow you to be very engaged with people. So if you have Aquarius in the 11th house, that can denote smaller networking groups, a smaller, closer group of friendships and relationships to work with. And so you might need to embark on actively connecting to people, relationships, networking, community. There are some placements in the 11th house where it's like people don't ever have to network, people just come to them. This is not the case if Aquarius is in the 11th house. Then you're going to have to learn how to do a little small talk, a little networking, a little outreach in order to make friends, or in order to build this non-for-profit, in order to, have things grow and flow for you. It's going to take a little bit more effort there. But if you'll key into the ideas that you have and the thoughts that you have and implement them, then that's a recipe for magic. Okay. 12th house. Okay. Into the pie. So houses 1 through 6 deal with the 3D day-to-day realm. 7 through 12 deal with the spiritual realm and the unseen, but nothing deals with the unseen like the 12th house. So the 12th house is, again, it's the house of the unseen. So it can denote with Aquarius there that there is this high vibration of psychic capacity, of channeling, intuition, but it's usually a matter of getting it grounded in order for it to come through. Some people are really blessed and it's like they just know that they can channel and it comes straight through. So be aware of that. It also is hidden talents. So if you have Aquarius in the 12th house, you may have a hidden talent for channeling psychic energies and messages, ideas, and creative flow, or getting other people or teaching other people how to connect to creative flow. So I like to dig into the hidden talent of it and go, oh, interesting. Okay. It's not the talent that's out front. It's not the one that's been the loudest and the proudest, but it's the one that when you engage with it, it really brings joy, opportunity, and love frequency with it. So Aquarius in the 12th house, I also hear it's like science could be a calling that you just don't think you're good at. Yeah, I did already do that. I did houses 1 through 6. We've done the whole thing, but first house or second house has come up a couple of times, so I will repeat that one. If Aquarius is in the second house is how you gather your goods. And this is, about how you approach getting things. The balance and imbalance, I always try to go through the energy. The balance of Aquarius is that it solves for the highest and greatest good of all, has genius level ideas, is really brilliant, but where it goes wrong in Aquarius is that it's not grounded, it's not manifested, it isn't put into play, and nothing ever gets done. So if you have Aquarius in the second house in this full moon, it's really a call to look at, are you implementing the ideas that you're having, and are you really manifesting anything with them, or is it just this spiral of ideas over and over and over? But you can go back and watch this whole thing on my YouTube channel, and I usually have a scroller and a link to it in my Instagram stories throughout the week. So if you want to go back and take notes in the whole thing and it's a little more in depth, it'll be there. Okay, so that's your unicorn bingo for the week. You guys doing okay? I always feel like it's like this crazy speed dating business to get all that information out. Aquarius is really interesting. Aquarius is transformative and powerful and cares about the collective. So just watch that this caring Aquarius doesn't get caught up in the ethers and that it's only ideas or philosophical ponderings. It needs to hit the concrete. It needs to be planted. It needs to be put in motion. Oh, you're so welcome for Unicorn Bingo. Good. Yeah, I mean, and the more we do this and the more we listen and the more you pick through your house, doing it by the moons is like, I think simplest way to implement it in our lives at the new moon, at the full moon. What's it calling us to look at? Where does that sit in our chart? What will it amplify and throw a spotlight on, right? So if it's in the second house, I feel like Aquarius in the second house and this full moon is throwing a spotlight on, are you really implementing these know-it-all ideas that really could transform and really help a lot of people? If not, you need to start, right? then that needs to be engaged. And I do think it's going to hit those of us with Aquarius in the 6th and the 7th house a little harder, but for the constructive. So be willing to change. Be willing to change how you navigate relationships and how you show up for people. So it's important, you know. Okay, I'm checking in on the comments. Yay, Vanessa's here. I see you. Checking in on the comments on Instagram. Oh, I love you too. Thank you. Yeah, Unicorn Bingo is pretty fun, and we missed it for a few weeks because things got heavy, but I think it's just a lot going on. So here we go. More on top of more, right? Let's do our weekly tarot reading. So if you all are just joining us, let me just do the tiniest, quickest recap from the very beginning. But remember, you can always go back to YouTube and watch the whole thing, take notes. That's why we're doing it this way, and it lives on YouTube in perpetuity. Yesterday, Jupiter went direct. Yesterday, Uranus went retrograde. Today, Mercury is finally out of its shadow. We are free of the Mercury retrograde for certain at this point. No gook sticking on, no weird extras. So it's a very important, transition week. There are still 5 major elements in retrograde. So this is just a lot of learning, a lot of transformation, a lot of capacity for change. Remember, change is uncomfortable and sometimes looks messy, and we don't like it. But the outcome is good. So embrace the change. And because it's so much retrograde energy, it's all about the internal self, right? So be willing to let go of things. Be willing to actively give things up. Be willing to release and go, I can't do all of those things. If I want this, I got to make space for it. So what has to go? UnicornWellness.Studio members are seeing that, right? I sent an email and I was like, we got to shift some things around because other things are being asked to be brought in. So that's how it goes. Okay, so here we go. Let's move on to the weekly tarot reading. Although for members of UnicornWellness.Studio, your full moon reading is up. It went up yesterday. So you can look at the big picture of this moon coming on Thursday, and we're going to look at the more narrow, detailed vision of it this week. Okay, I'm using the Wild Unknown Tarot. This is like my deck. Like each kind of soul has a resonant deck, but I haven't used it in a long time. She was calling this morning. So the 5-card layout gives us the theme of the week and gives us the steps, which I'll talk through, but I always like to look at them as 48 hours at a time kind of a spectrum. So just like the moon passes through a sign about 2.5 days at a time, these readings I feel like work that energy as well. Okay. Let's see what we have. Interesting. Very black and white cards. The spirit in which to move through things. I'm using the Jen Berlingo deck. That's kind of a signature of unicorns and unicorn wellness. And as I'm pulling cards, okay. And then the Divine Feminine Oracle Guide, Megan Watterson's, man, it's become a pretty powerful little deck for us. So I'm pulling from there as well. Okay. If you all, since we have a little, as I'm shuffling here, if you all click the like button on YouTube, I really appreciate it. It totally matters. If you all feel called to share this information, just even as a general share, or send your friends this direction, I really appreciate it. Last month for UnicornWellness.Studio really was our biggest month in years, and grateful to you all. It's you all who are sharing, who see the benefit or who are experiencing the benefits. So please subscribe and share in any way that you can. I really appreciate it. It totally goes noticed, and I'm ever so grateful. So here we go. Oh, wow. Okay. All right, here we go. So this week, what is the date? I don't even know the dates. The 12th. What are we through the 18th? Yeah, looking at my calendar on the floor. So here we go. The theme that we're going to be really dealing with this week, Okay, where we're starting from and what we're working with throughout the week. This is Four of Cups. Okay, and in this deck, it always, the cards we've pulled out of this deck look grim today. I'm not. Oh, thank you. I love that on Instagram. I love Violet. I've been trying to recruit everyone I know to your services. Thank you, Mama. Thank you. Okay, so the theme of this week and where we're starting from, this is Four of Cups. Again, the cards in this deck, the ones we pulled today, they're very black and white. Like, it's interesting. So the Four of Cups always denotes, longevity, planning for the long run. Cups are about emotions and about love, but you're like, what does it have to do with the rat sitting on top of it? Like, oh, I don't know about that, right? This has everything to do with perceived transitions and changes that you think are really gross and awful, right? Because we see rat and we go, ooh, like disease, oh, ugh. But rats have longevity. They are familial. They burrow. They are recyclers. They use what they can find to their benefit. So we want to take the constructive medicine of the rat when it comes to this, that maybe it's not the time to refurnish your house, but it's definitely the time to go scavenging, invest in some paint and some sandpaper, and kind of explore maybe some creative repurposing that's helpful to the planet and helpful to redecorating your house, these kinds of things. Four of Cups always denotes a gift from the universe that's on its way that you're not seeing as a gift. So again, it never fails. Like at the beginning of this video, I'm talking about how transitions can look like terrible things. And as humans, we get caught in the terribleness of them. But if we can surrender and trust and go back to our meditation practice, go to a prayer practice, go to a journaling practice and going, I have no idea how this is going to be a benefit, but I am open and willing to hear it. And in the meantime, I'm going to work my way calmly through this to solve it best I can. And what I can't solve, I will ask and recruit for help. And I'm open and willing to receive, and I'm listening, right? And I think this card for sure, Four of Cups, even though it's about emotions, right? Like how we feel about things. We feel like things are going south and they're broken and they're dirty and like, oh, on the decline. Meanwhile, it's headed towards longevity and sustainability for eons, right? I mean, who's survived the plague? Rats. So we have to look at perspective shifts in things. I think it's really important right now to want solutions. Again, the full moon in Aquarius wants solutions for the highest and greatest good of all. I think it's really important to go, what do I want? Are you willing to literally do anything to get to the solution? Because anything can mean things you're really uncomfortable with, things you didn't want to do. That is the moment of breakdown, right? I don't care how it gets solved. I'm tired of trying. I don't know the answer. Universe, like, you fix it. Like, whatever solves this, I'm on board. So I think this card really asks us to get on board with whatever solves something. Otherwise, it's just lip service and complaint. Then we just want to complain about things we don't really want to solve them. And that applies like big time to your health and your wellness. Like, I can get you results. We can change things for the better, but what are you willing to shift? What are you willing to invest in? What are you willing to do differently in order to get to a solution, right? Do you want to be right, or do you want a solution? I think that's the question of Aquarius, hands down. Next steps for our highest and greatest good. This card's come up in all the decks that we've used lately, and it's a big one, Judgment. Okay, and I know the Judgment card comes out, and I'm going to show Instagram, but the light is a little hot. It's coming in hot. I'm going to just scoot over here. How's that? There we go. Instagram can see it now. Okay, so the Judgment card. This card has a lot of confusion to it, right? That we think, oh, we're being judged, and are we going to make it or not? No. Judgment card is a beautiful card. Judgment card is the card of karma balancing, meaning we don't have to do anything. So this says next best step for our highest and greatest good this week. Actually, we don't have to do anything. Keep doing what we're doing. This is always a call to, you're putting these things in motion. You're putting them out there energetically. You're meditating. You're on the mat. You're journaling. But, this is just really a beautiful card of rebirth, of the phoenix moment. So it's like, we're like, we've had this a lot lately, and y'all are like, another rebirth. This is what ascension is like. This is what spiritual ascension looks like. It's like just about the time you're like, oh, I got it, I feel okay, hey, here's the upswing. And then the universe goes, we're going to go through another catharsis and another transformation, but it's for the better. So the judgment card is always about freeing yourself of things that no longer work. It is rebirth. It is phoenix energy. This is alchemization of the soul and the self, big time. So to me, that's embodiment in a 3D lifetime, meaning that your soul starts to get more comfortable in the physical body. We show more respect to the physical body. How do we treat it? How do we move it? What do we feed it? Who are we surrounding it with? What are we listening to? Then, because we're treating the physical 3D incarnation with respect, then our soul gets more comfortable and is allowed to expand. So our talents and our gifts get to expand, reach a wider audience. They get to supply us with livelihoods in this lifetime, right? So next best step for our highest and greatest good, we don't actually have to do anything. We just have to be willing to receive. So let me retract that a little bit. I heard that. Okay. That we have to be willing to receive. So we can say, I don't have to do anything. Cool. But if we're shut down to receiving love, to receiving unconditional love, we're shut down to being whole, we're shut down to solutions, right? Then we can't have the goodness of the rebirth happen. So I think it's very slightest and very least this week. This is like, have a moment in meditation, or take the moment right now and in your head say, I'm willing to receive. I'm willing to have my karma balanced in this lifetime. I'm willing to up level one more time. Like, I'm willing to be rebirthed as my highest and greatest good, and for my soul to expand in this lifetime. Be willing to receive. That was very loud. And go do the guided meditation on the site. This month's guided meditation on UnicornWellness.Studio is a healing. It's an energetic healing from me to you. So this, if you can press play on it every damn day, man, there's a whole lot of magic and healing and rebirth to be had there. Those are connected. Okay. Yeah, it really is a lot. Love Violet, she just said it on Instagram, that it's really about releasing control and surrendering to the universe. Whatever change is a part of it. This is a big deal, right? You have to be willing for solutions, and solutions don't always look the way human want to control it into looking. But I do promise that if you are really, your whole heart is seeking a genuine solution for the highest and greatest good of all. Like, I don't want anybody to hurt, but I need this to be solved. I want this to be solved. Like, I'm open to whatever solves it. Be listening, be open, because the universe offers solutions and choices. We just often don't want to take them. So be willing to receive. Big steps for your highest and greatest good this week. Daughter of Swords. So here we start with a little sprinkle of color, right? So we've had black and white, like things are very black and white, which they're not in life, but sometimes energetically they are, light, dark, right? Biggest steps for our highest and greatest good this week is the Daughter of Swords. I love the Daughter of Swords. In this deck, it's an owl, right? So it denotes wisdom. But it's the daughter. So this is the page in the tarot. So it's young and it's learning. We're learning how to be wise. This card in this deck is so beautiful because swords are about our intellect, our acumen, our thought process, and our words. We are learning how to wield our words and our thoughts with wisdom. And when we cognitively, consciously transition to, I'm not trying to hurt anybody, I just want a solution. I do not want to feel as if I'm in a toxic situation anymore. I want expansion and more resources. This is not about somebody having less. Refer back to the beginning of this video. This is about me empowering and growing and evolving. And so these little sprinkles, I always feel like, are little sprinkles of magic, like guides and guardian angels, are like when you actively move towards function from a place of emotional maturity, it wields magic in your world. Like when you start to really go, I'm not trying to hurt anybody else. I don't need them to feel awful. I just don't want to be doing this anymore. I want to get out of this cycle. And however that solves it, I will be brave. I will step up to the challenge because I want to be part of the solution. So this is really big. This is, big steps this week is that we're learning how to wield our words. We're learning how to use the Aquarian energy for the solutions in a more mature way that really does solve for the highest and greatest good, aiming at solutions, not at who was wrong and not out of being right, and not only in the way that I perceived it to be capable of changing and being solved. Like, you got to be willing to be wrong, because otherwise, why is there magic? Why are there miracles? We can't know everything. Um, so here we go. Assets to this week. So we have these black and white card, a little sprinkle of magic and color. Then we've got some color here. So this is 6 of Wands. I mean, if anything says rebirth, it's this card. 6 is the number of love. Wands is about bravery and courageousness and our willpower, in a constructive manner. Be willing to be the change in the world. So this is literally what I teach. I do believe that by addressing our personal self inside and out, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and I would say that, mentally and emotionally kind of go hand in hand, or emotionally and spiritually go hand in hand and kind of go between the two, that then there's a rebirth, right? And these are the assets that if you're working the tactics and the habits at UnicornWellness.Studio on the mat, in meditation with the tarot, that you have a rebirth process and you feel different. You have a new set of wings. You have a different perspective. You're not a ground crawler anymore. You get to look at it from the overview, and you can flit in and out of things pretty quickly and pretty easily, because you're navigating differently. You're navigating from a heart-centered, balanced, respectful place. And so this is the asset to this week, is that you have had a rebirth of your own. Like, you got your wings. There's been a lot of this messaging for the unicorns of we got our wings. There's the uncomfortable building a cocoon, then there's the emulsification and never being who you were before, and then finally the struggle and this is uncomfortable, and then the wing stretch. Well, this is like, hey, you know how to fly. And it's beautiful. You bring color, you bring light, you bring inspiration to all the darkness around you. And it's brave to simply be yourself and to show up with shining light, right? So butterfly is beautiful. It also denotes the throat and the thyroid. Blue is the color of the throat chakra. So this is the benefit and the assets to this week in particular about speaking your truth, being vocal about what you believe to be true, standing up for things, not letting other people put things down and just remaining silent about it. There's a clearing and a bravery and a courageousness and a drop in the collective bucket by being vocal about what's important to you. Outcome of the week. Now, this is one of those cards where you go, that looks scary. Okay, transition is uncomfortable and usually doesn't look cool at the beginning. This is 8 of Cups. And it does look scary, right? It's all broken. It's a big old black. You're like, Greek. I gotta climb Black Mountain, the dark, scary mountain. I keep hearing like Magic Mountain. Like as a kid, was that Disney World? I don't know, like the roller coaster, Magic Mountain. So the outcome of this week, this is 8 of Cups, and it looks like everything's broken and done, and like ain't nobody getting a glass of wine here or a cup of water because it's all shattered. Well, when everything's broken and done, clean it up. Get yourself a new set of glasses. Start over, right? So 8 of Cups, emotions for one thing. Oh, how funny, Vanessa. I see you, that she starts up the mountain on Thursday. No way. So there you go. The idea of climbing your mountain is a very spiritual thing. Like, what is the mountain you're climbing? We're being pushed by Capricorn energy, the Saturn and Pluto stuff. Capricorn is the mountain climber. It's the mountain goat that just wants to get to the top. So there's so many pieces at play here in this card for the outcome of the week. But 8 of Cups at its very basic level says, walk away from things that don't work for you anymore. There is empowerment in walking away and just leaving it. Now, on a karmic level, don't leave the mess, right? This is a bunch of broken cups. This is broken emotions, broken relationships, things that you cannot glue this back together. Can't. You might be able to make a mosaic out of it, but you can't glue them back together and use them again. So you need to clean up the mess and then walk away. And then go start a whole new process. 8 of Cups is about walking away from things that emotionally, functionally, relationship-wise, no longer serve your highest and greatest good, and it's going to drag you down. It will become the anvil and the locks on your ankles, like shackles. I see shackles. So if you can clean it up, get your dustpan, put it in a recycling bin. Maybe somebody else uses it to make a mosaic out of. Fine. You do the best you can to clean up the emotional mess, and then you go do something else. Interesting. I also hear it as fresh starts and new beginnings. It's like you can't start something else unless you get rid of the old stuff. You just can't. There's no room for it. So it's a good week, but it's definitely about that rebirth because we're flanked by flying wings, right? Expensive wings. Trying to show it on Instagram where you can see it. I'll have a photo of it up later today in the feed. Okay, Spirit in which we've got 2 more cards and then we're done. Spirit in which to move through things. This is express. So again, look at this. Literally the same color palette. Try to show it. Okay, so the spirit in which to move through things this week. This is when things are hard, when they're difficult, when they're challenging, when you feel depressed or anxious or stuck or like there's a dead end. This is how to move through it. There's no way out but through, ever. Express yourself. Say it out loud. Talk it out. Say it. And I'm going to say it like say it. This is not necessarily about journaling and creative endeavors and making artwork. This is about saying it. Have the conversations that need to be had. Do the dirty work. That blue, this is the throat chakra. It's got to be let out. Part of what happens, especially for thyroid, especially for Taurus, and here I don't have a thyroid, that this is really about letting it out because otherwise it goes stagnant, kind of shrivels up. So express what you really want. Express it in a heartfelt, true manner. This has got all this green in it too, and so does this. Green is the color of the heart, green and pink. So, speak from the heart, be honest and earnest about it, but don't keep it bottled up this week. The spirit in which to move through it is to communicate. But I really hear that it's about talking, like really telling. It could be an email. Mercury is done now. So there's communication that's going to reach people that wasn't able to get there before. Okay. Oh, the blue butterfly is the symbol for Addison's disease. I didn't know that, Vanessa. Well, that's interesting. Well, that's beautiful. Okay, there's one more question before I get to the last card. Well, love Violet, what if it is financial security and job career is a thing that needs to be changed? I mean, then you need to set plans in motion to constructively, safely change it. Then you need to communicate that with whoever it needs to be communicated with. When you are scared, then that is absolutely the time to go, how do I support this? How do I turn the scared into excited with a plan to move forward? I think I would guess that nearly everybody here who's going to watch this now or later or after the fact has been in that place. And if you continue to stay scared, you're putting that energy toward it and it'll get worse and worse and worse. So if it's financial security, depending on the topic at hand, maybe it is a tarot reading that you need. Maybe you need a financial coach. Maybe there's a best friend or a family member who's really good at these things and you're like, here's what I'm scared of. You got to look at it. You got to open it up. You got to dig in there. You got to get in there. So anytime fear or scared comes up, that's the flag waving. That's where you got to go next. That's where your big girl pants are. That's where maturity is. That's where growth and evolution, and that's where healing is. And that's also where the discomfort comes into, because you're like, I don't want to go there. Man, sister, we've all been there. So I'm not guiding you into doing anything that I haven't done myself, and have done that to a certain degree even last month, big time. But it can be turned from scared energy, anxiety, right, into excited energy with a plan, with a destination, with support, with help. So if you need pieces of support and help and you're like, I'm not really sure where to go, DM me, like send me a message. The more information I've got to work with, the more capable I am of helping you or guiding you to somebody who else that can help, right? Okay, last card. This is our Divine Feminine Oracle card. This is a newer deck, so I'll read from the book. They're a little bit longer, but they've really offered so much beauty to these readings that we're going to keep at it. This is Fatima, the mother of Imans. Love is my lineage and gratitude is my religion. So I'll read hers after I show it. She's beautiful. I haven't pulled this for you all, but I have pulled this for myself. This is a newer deck for me. I don't think I've even had it a month yet, so I'm still learning them with you. Okay, let's see what this has to offer. Fatima embodies the love and fulfillment that comes from living in a state of gratitude. Fatima bint Muhammad was born in the early 7th century and is the only child of Khadijah and the Prophet Muhammad to live into adulthood. She is associated with the title, the mother of her father, because she cared for Muhammad after her mother died. She is an object of veneration, love, and respect for all Muslims because she supported her father through all of his difficulties. She was a devoted wife and mother of 2 sons and 2 daughters. Her descendants are spread throughout the Islamic world. To the Shiites, she is particularly significant because she was married to Ali, the Prophet Muhammad's cousin. Ali is considered by Shiites to be legitimate heir to Muhammad's teachings. Fatima's many children are considered then the rightful inheritors of Islam. And Iman is a leader in the Islamic faith, and Fatima is considered to be the mother of Imans because of the love and gratitude she gave to her family. There are many stories about her devotion and the unfaltering love she provided in order to protect them. She never failed to defend what was scared to her. It is said that Fatima stood up to Muhammad's successor, Abu Bakr, because she didn't feel that he was honoring her father's legacy in the way he had hoped. She lived with great stability because she knew that her love for her family gave her solid foundation, identity, and clarity of purpose. We can get caught up in the ego's idea of who we need to become or of what we need to achieve. Fatima is the grace that sweeps through our seemingly complex lives and reminds us of what's core, what's solid earth to the soul, family, even if family means a few beloved friends. What matters most is the love and gratitude we bring to those who are here for us, and the love and gratitude we feel when they show up for us. Nurturing, protecting, and taking care of the ones we love is a sacred occupation. My great-grandmother, Big Margie, advised me that if I ever had children, I needed to make sure I got paid for it. I had no clue what she was talking about. The idea was so foreign. Big Margie believed that women should have a wage for the time they spent raising children so that their work would at last be valued. The role of housewife or stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home parent is sacred if it's consciously chosen. It is a profound contribution to raise and reconstitute the world. Oh, this came up earlier in this video. There is a legacy of love that can be inherited by the whole family from such undivided attention and presence. Fatima restores the significance and importance to the spiritual path of motherhood. Fatima is also a call to step back, take a deep breath, and take inventory of how much you can be grateful for right now in this moment. She releases you from the unreal expectations of yourself. She releases you from unreal expectations of yourself. Hear that. Okay, because I think this is where, Aquarius and Virgo energy was brought up too, of this perfectionist idea of things being wrong in order to be right or have to be broken in order to be healed. And it puts limitations on growth and evolution. Whether you have mothered a child, a friend, or yourself, Fatima helps you to see again the vital role of the nurturer. She offers the perspective that says love is the family we all belong to, and gratitude is the state of wealth we get to live in. What am I most grateful for in this moment? And the intention, love is my lineage and gratitude is my religion. All right, guys, it's a lot. Checking in with the comments. Let's see. Yeah, it's a lot of magic this week. It feels more gentle than I anticipated. But it's got beautiful offerings, big offerings. I mean, anytime the judgment card comes up, judgment and justice, we're getting karmic balancing at the soul level. That's big. I also think that is always a bit of, work the mat and work your rest time. Because if you're integrating and burning karma, that energetic shift is big. So just take care of yourself. Go a little slower if you need to. Okay, my unicorns, I love you so much. If on YouTube you click the like button, I really appreciate it. If you are called to share this work with anyone, please share it. That's why we gather as a community, but I also want to show people that we're a community and it's real people. It is really connected and very loving and very real. If you are not yet a member of the site of UnicornWellness.Studio. This month, there's an incentive for you to take the leap of faith and to join. I will have the code GimmeDemand in the description of the YouTube video, but also it'll be in my Instagram stories all week. 30 days free on the site, your first 30 days, plus my preferred resistance band, which I'll be educating on all month long, why it's different, why it's special. Plus, I just like to give stuff away. So I can give it away if you don't sign up. it's fun to get presents. And what else? You got questions throughout this week? Message me, ask each other. If you're a newer member of the site, make sure to join the private Facebook group because that's really where the community connects and has for the last 6 years. So I love you. I'm so grateful for all of our new members. Thank you. You're introducing yourselves here. Like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't wait to get to know you better. And yeah, I guess that's it. Happy Monday. Go slow. Full moon. Don't forget to put your crystals out in the week. I mean, Thursday's full moon in the northern hemisphere. So put your crystals out to charge. Okay? I love you guys. And I will talk to you soon. Tomorrow. No, not tomorrow. Wednesday. Instagram Live with a very, 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 very good friend of mine. Soul Sister Unicorn has incredible organic hand blended teas. She and I will be on Instagram Live Wednesday. And I got to go look at the time, but I'll post it again soon too. Okay. I love you guys so much. Thanks for the hearts. I love hearts. I love you guys. Bye. Happy Monday. Love you very much. All right, you guys. I'll see you soon.